welcome back to Somebody Come Listen to This podcast. This is your host, Nava. We have officially hit January 1st, 2025. So happy New Year's, ladies. I am so glad that we are here together, and I'm so glad that we are about to burn this world up in 2025, y'all. This is my very first video of the year. So y'all, let's get into it. I want to talk about sexual coercion in a marriage. We're not doing this anymore. 2025, we're going to share these videos. We are going to talk about it. Women have been taught so many toxic things in and outside of religion and the church. The church basically tells the women that your body is no longer yours. It belongs to your husband. And they tell the husband the same thing. They tell the wife the same thing. Your husband's bodies belong to you. But we all know that men don't really believe that. Men really believe that when they get a wife, that they own that woman. Her body is theirs. And women don't really coerce men into having sex when they don't want to. Women don't do that. Women will withhold sex because they are not feeling appreciated, but we're taught that no matter how you feel or no matter how your husband is treating you, you belong to him. You're his own little personal sex slave and housekeeper and maid. So men have been socialized to believe this right along with women. And it's toxic. We still have women out here teaching women to just give them sex anyway. Men, they feel like that if they don't get sex a certain amount of times a week, then you're cheating or you don't love them or something is wrong with you. So everybody turns on the woman. Something is wrong with the woman for not wanting to have sex with her man. And intimacy to women is not the same thing as it is to men. Men think sex is intimacy. That's it. Point blank, period. Women, to us, we have to be stimulated intellectually. A lot of women, if they don't feel appreciated or listened to, or if you don't, connect with them on like a certain mental level, women just don't want to have sex with you. And on top of that, when you're married, women get bogged down with all of the quote unquote traditional feminine gender roles like cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, just taking care of everything. The man just works and he has all this extra energy to have sex 2 or 3 times a week because he's not really doing as much as the wife. And so nobody wants to actually sit down and talk about this, about how much of a load is on women. So y'all, this year in 2025, we're going to talk about it. We know that we're going to be getting banned, shadow banned. We know that we're going to be getting censored, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to keep talking about it until women wake up and realize that no matter what, your body is yours in a marriage. If you don't feel like having sex, you don't have to have sex. You don't have to have sex with him every week, every 2 weeks. You don't have to be on a schedule. And if he decides he wants to go cheat and you find out about it, just leave. So right now it's over 70% of women who are filing divorces for many, many different reasons. I did a video on it sometime last year, 2024. Y'all can go back and find that video. It's talking about why women file for divorces more than men. And I think I did a separate one, why men will never file for divorce because they benefit so much from marriage. They never file. So the women are forced to do it when they are just sick of it. So let's get into these videos and we're going to come back and talk about it after this.
So I am currently at perimenopausal. I'm at that point in my life, okay? And he has me so stressed out physically and emotionally that I don't want to engage in sex. I don't have a need for it. I thought my shit was broken. That's how fucked up my mind is. So he is the type of person to where if he makes an advance and I say no, then he'll be upset the first time or whatever. But if it's a whole 7 days and he has not had intercourse with me, he will have a fucking fit. He'll start with the silent treatment. He'll be like, I'll ask him to do something for me. He'll say no. He'll be like, don't ask me for no money because I'm not giving you none. Now, I'm not asking him for money to go shopping. I'm asking him for money for like...
This right here, I had to stop right here. This right here is what y'all are not going to be doing in 2025. If you don't have a job or a way of making some income to where you don't have to ask a man for anything, you need to start working on that plan right now. It's going to be hard because the job market is terrible everywhere right now. But by you depending on this man for money for you and your child, you're putting yourself in danger. By women not liking other women and not having community to go to and other women to go to when they need help, you're putting yourself in danger. You need to start teaching your daughters now that they need to start building their friendships and their communities with women. Start showing your young daughters, 14, 15, 16, before they start talking to boys. You need to start showing them these videos if you have them. Don't just look at them for yourselves, because they are about to go out into this world, and the patriarchy and the church and everybody around them is going to try to indoctrinate them to turn themselves into like little maids for boys. When they start dating these boys that have their own places, or even if they don't have their own places, if they have their own bedroom, these boys start out seeing that these girls are going to do things for them and using them. So she put herself in a very dangerous situation to have to go and ask this toxic man for money or for help. She did this. We're doing it to ourselves. Regardless of it, this is what we've been taught. Once we get to a certain age, we should have our own thoughts and our own brain. I'm a Virgo, so I've always had my own thoughts and opinions on things, but I realized that not all women think like me or have that. So I decided to teach. I feel like my calling is to teach young women and young girls to do better than women have in previous generations. So hit that like button, y'all, and let's continue.
Like groceries, or to pay for prescriptions, or help with my daughters doing something. It's always something that is about the family and not about me. So, he'll go on these rants about paying something as simple as my car insurance and my cell phone bill. And he'll threaten me to stop paying it, or I have to get my own. Now, quick backstory about getting my own insurance. My daughter was in an accident in my car, the first one. And I don't know how, but when I went to get my own insurance, by the time I was done, they asked for my license number, and I gave them my license number, and they had asked me prior, have I ever been in an accident? And no, I had not been in an accident where I was liable. I have been hit, but I was never in an accident where I was liable. So I was telling the truth. So beforehand, they gave me a quote that was like reasonable for 2 cars. By the time I was done with the quote and I gave him my driver's license number, can you tell me why my insurance went from like $300 and something a month to $1,100 and some change, right?
This is also because of men, y'all. Don't let this pass you by, that the way that they are setting this system up and making everything so expensive with capitalism is putting women in very tough spots. And they're doing it purposely. They're doing it to everybody, but they're doing it purposely to make women get back in the home so that we can't afford to do all of this stuff on our own. So they feel like it'll force women into marriages. And if you get into marriages and you're back in the house, it'll force you to procreate and have more kids for their system. So watch everything skyrocket this year as the Republicans push for more traditional households and families, and for women to be back in the homes and make more children. Keep an eye out on that this year.
Then I would have had to put like a $3,000 down payment. It was ridiculous, okay? Ridiculous. Somehow, that accident was in my name. So I asked him, how was the accident in my name? Oh, I don't know. Ask my daughter. She don't know. So now I'm like, damn, like, what am I going to do now? And then if I go, now this is the crazy stuff. If I go and make my own cell phone account, then I'm hiding something. When you just told me, oh, are you trying to leave me? You just told me if I'm not fucking you, then you're not paying my bills. Now, mind you, those are the two bills. It's two bills. Two bills. Less than $300 for my half. And you're bitching and complaining about that? He's not paying my car notes. He's not paying my personal bills, my credit card bills. He's not paying none of that. But since I say no about having relations, then he threatens to not pay my bills. My two bills. But if I go outside of that, he either did something to fuck me over, or he's accusing me of shit that I'm not doing. It's like a you never win. Like, just because you don't want to do something. Oh, or it's somebody else. You're fucking somebody else. You're fucking somebody else. Really? When do I have the time? When do I have the time? I am a professional, okay? He will make me fire a male client if he feels threatened by them in any way.
So not only is she allowing this man to stress her out, and he's going to age her quicker, he could possibly take her out at any moment, she is allowing him to mess up her money. She has her own business, and she's still having to go to him to ask for money if she doesn't give him sex. This sounds like prostitution. It is. Sex in exchange for money or to get things done. That's why Princella calls married women married hoes. I'm a married woman, if y'all don't know, and I agree with her there. I really do, because that's how it's set up for a lot of marriages. She is allowing this. That's the word I'm going to use. She is allowing this, because if she was to leave this man, her business would probably flourish. She's losing clients, therefore losing money, and he's not wanting to give her money. She's listening to him. She's choosing to do all of that. That's one thing y'all have to realize. She's choosing to listen to him and ruin her own business.
And then he'll say, I trust you, I just don't trust them. How in the hell can somebody do something to me that I don't want to happen?
Ma'am, your husband is actively manipulating you and abusing you with money, and you don't want that to happen. But he's doing it. You don't want him to do any of the things that he's doing. But he's doing it because you're letting it happen.
Oh, they can try to assault you. Too late. That's already happened to me. But you sexually coerce me all the time. You make me do things when I don't want to do them.
Again, you just said, how can somebody do things to you that you don't want to happen? Ladies, I'm going to need for y'all to listen to yourselves in 2025.
I have to lay there and take it. That's the only time that person tells me that they love me, right? I don't know how I got here. I am an idiot. Okay? Like, this shit is so funny to me now. I'm way past crying. Like, it's been I've been mourning for 17 years. Like, like, this shit is crazy. And, everybody looks, oh, he's such a great guy. He's such a nice guy.
And the reason that everybody thinks that he's such a good guy is because of you. Women put out an illusion that these men are good guys because they feel like they have to protect men's images because they feel like that's their responsibility because there's their husband and they want their husband to look good. All the while they're suffering. I just made a video on, why women divorce the good guy, quote unquote good guy. Y'all can go back and look at that. Also, women are the ones putting themselves in this situation. Y'all know these men aren't good behind closed doors. Y'all know how they make you feel, but y'all want the rest of the world to think that they are good. And you're only making it worse for yourself. You're making it easy for them. They get to treat you how they want to. They get to speak how they want to speak to you because most of y'all don't have family and friends that you can talk to anymore because they made you run them away purposely. Too many women are online talking about that's what their boyfriends or husbands did. They secluded them before they start acting up. They got them to themselves before they start acting up. Now we know, and now we're speaking on it. So women won't keep making those same mistakes.
The only person that know he's full of shit is my mama. My mama been telling me he's full of shit since the beginning. And only thing I was really trying to do was trying to make sure that my daughter had something that I never did. And I was a household with both parents.
Okay, y'all, I'm sorry I keep stopping so much, but we have to get this right, y'all. It's 2025, and I had to stop here because women need to stop having this mindset that having a toxic male in the house around your kids is better than having no male at all in the house with your kids, because y'all are allowing these men to come in and just horrify and just terrify and cause these kids to have traumatic childhood memories because we have been taught that a family has to be a man, woman, and the children in the houses. For the most part, these men are not adding to the family. They are causing everybody just to be miserable, and y'all still want to hold on to them. And even the kids are like hoping that the mom will get divorced, hoping that the man will just leave and go away because everybody is stressed out with him in the house. Y'all have to stop this. If y'all are going to stop this, this is the year 2025. We're going to stop it. We're going to stop lying to ourselves and saying that we want to hold the family together for the kids. No, women are just desperate and codependent because they have this, and men are codependent on women too. That's why they don't never leave. Women get a codependency because they're scared that they can't make it on their own with these kids, because they don't have communities of women, because they're not making enough money. There's a lot of reasons that women stay. And even some women actually love these men still after they put them through hell. That's possible. Women still have that syndrome. What is it when you like captives like still love their like captors? They still go back to them. I'll put it in here if I can remember the term, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, we have to do better. We have to do better. You're not helping your kids or yourself. You're just traumatizing yourself and your kids. And then your kids will grow up to resent and hate you because you didn't protect them from their dad. Then they're just going to not be around you. You're going to grow old and you're going to be in a nursing home by yourself because your kids are going to look at you like you should have loved us more. You should have loved yourself more. They grow up to realize that they didn't need that in their lives. So stop using your kids for an example to stay in toxic relationships.
And now that I'm older, I realized how traumatic that was. And now that my older children are gone, she's in the house with us and she sees how things really are. And I think that she has a lack of respect for me for it.
See, y'all, I hadn't even watched this entire video before I just said what I said previously. I hadn't watched it, but that is what happens a lot of the times. Especially the girls, they grow up and they look at you as someone that was weak and someone that didn't protect. And as women, we have to realize that men are not natural protectors. Women are the ones who protect their babies. But a lot of the time, women don't want to protect their babies because the one that is harming them is their dad. So for some reason, women let down our natural instincts to protect when it comes to our husband. And that's not okay. That is not okay.
Like, she just be like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy when your kid is telling you, like, it's okay if you leave. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll be okay. Like, it's cool. Like, go ahead. Like, she's giving me permission to leave. To the point where she's like, Mom, I don't, like, you like it, I love it. It is what it is. But you ain't got to stay. Ain't that crazy?
So one of the things that really hurts women is this belief system in our society that men have high sex drives or hypersexuality because they just have high testosterone, and it's just a natural expression of that testosterone. Okay, so to start with, let's just talk about what is hypersexual behavior. So hypersexual behavior is a range, and that range stems from like excessive preoccupation and thinking about sex to prolonged engagement in activities like masturbation, all the way to like great number of partners, all the way to like high usage of pornography and sex workers. So, right, you can kind of see that there's a progression of those activities. And whenever you see a progression, like steadily inclination or increase in behaviors, what we're really talking about is addiction, right? So addiction can start with preoccupation, ends in excessive use and activities, and a propelling like obsessive compulsive nature with it, right? So the study really looked at, can testosterone account for this hypersexuality in men? And the answer really was no, that there was no clear path to say that really hypersexuality in men is noted because of testosterone. What they did find is that there's a high correlate for women and men around traumas and abuses. And when we talk about traumas and abusive, you know what we're really talking about. We're really talking about the inability to have our needs met early on in life, which means that then we then create patterns in life where we can't get our needs met because of our behavioral patterns. And the thing about that really is that this correlation with trauma and abuses is really clear in women, because it is seen as extraordinary when a woman has a hypersexual backdrop, but we tend to normalize it for men. And so let's just really call it for what it is. If it's not testosterone, then hypersexuality is disordered. And as a matter of fact, the DSM is looking at making it a disorder. But here's where it matters for you and I. When we don't call out men's hypersexuality, their consistent preoccupation, their coercive demands for sex, their anger and irritation with their partners when they can't have sex, on and on and on. That is a disorder. That is not testosterone. That is not a mismatch in sex drive. That is the inability to get my needs met in a adult, mature, emotionally available, and vulnerable way. And so when we put the expectation on women to meet the demand of men's high sex drive, what we're really saying is we're putting the demand on women to meet men's disordered behavior as to further coddle them and enable them in a very disruptive, hurtful behavior. So women, if you have a coercive man who demands sex, who's preoccupied with sex, who gets angry with you when you don't want to have sex, and escalates that behavior into watching pornography or cheating on you outside of that, and again, this could be women, generally men, then it would behoove you to start calling it with your partner what it is. I will not engage in your disordered behavior because you have a dysfunction and you need help with that dysfunction in terms of therapy. So it's not testosterone. It's a disorder.
Partner mean to you if you don't have sex with them? A woman recently reached out to me because her husband told her that he could not be nice to her unless she had sex with him. Now look, I'm a sex therapist. I believe that sex is so much more than just a physical act. It's one of the most powerful and meaningful ways that we create connection and intimacy.
I truly do not believe that sex creates a connection for men. I believe that it only creates a connection for women. They do not get connected or bonded to us through sex. And I truly believe that they know that women get connected and bonded through sex. That's why they want to do it really quickly to just kind of like mark their territory or their spot. And women go stupid after that. Even like I've seen and heard videos of men on this platform and other platform, homeless men say that the sooner they can get in and have sex with a woman, because a lot of women don't know that they're homeless, the sooner that woman will get bonded to them and allow them to like kind of move in.
So I learned a new word today, and it's homeless sexuals. I didn't know that this was a thing. What a homeless sexual is basically either a man or a woman who doesn't really have a stable place to live. So whenever it gets cold outside or whenever they start dealing with somebody who has a sturdy living arrangement, they fuck you real good. Like they fuck you like a roof over their head, depends on it. Homeless sexual. And I know that it exists because I've definitely seen it done. Like, you ever noticed how he wouldn't give you no attention all summer, but as soon as it get cold, you the cutest thing or the best thing that ever came into his life?
And just take advantage of her. So sex is not doing the same thing for women and men. That's one thing that we're going to learn in 2025. They will try to get you pregnant if they're homeless because they feel like they will always have a place to go stay and always have someone to sleep with. Even if they're not homeless, they do this. And we're going to learn that men cannot be baby trapped. You cannot trap them by having a baby. That is just dumb for us to think. They can trap us. We are the ones that are mainly raising them. And it's not a good idea to think that you're going to make a man raise your kid. Like, if you want to abandon your kid with him, that's out of the question. They don't know how to take care of babies for the most part. Most of them don't. And most of them will take your baby out. And if you leave them with them, they will like leave it with like a lot of women in the family to raise it. So we have to get wiser, like quick, in 2025, because so many women and girls still don't see what has been going on forever. So please hit that share button, y'all. It's 2025. So I know that they will start banning these channels and stopping us from talking like this. I know it's coming as soon as Trump gets in office. So please share, subscribe, and let's get back to it.
Telling your partner that they have to have sex with you in order for you to treat them with kindness and respect is completely unacceptable. You do not have to earn being treated like a human being. Now, here's what I hope is really going on here. Men receive a lot of crappy socialization telling them that they're not allowed to be emotional. They're not allowed to ask for emotional intimacy and closeness. So for a lot of men, sex feels like the only way they're allowed to seek closeness. I hope that what was really going on is that this husband was trying to explain to his partner that this is the safest way for him to create that connection with her, and that he just put his foot in his mouth trying to explain that to her. But if your partner straight up tells you that you have to have sex with them in order to get anything in your relationship, that is a huge red flag and should be a one-way ticket straight to therapy.
What should I
do when I'm not in the mood, but my spouse is?
For me personally, just do it anyway. I'd say do it anyway. There's a lot of times when I'm not in the mood. Now, again, I'm not saying like, okay, it's that time of the month for you, or you just got out of surgery, or you're all contagious and coughing and sneezing. And I'm not saying all of that stuff. Okay. I'm just saying it's a normal day and you don't feel like it, but they do. Just do it anyway.
Okay.
It's going to be, what's the worst case is you like it. I mean, like.
Well, the worst case is that they like it. But you might like it. Here's the principle that I think we've lived by. It only takes one person to be in the mood for us to have sex.
Yeah.
And I think that's where many people are missing it, because they feel like they need to be in the mood.
Yeah.
And for both people to be in the mood, you got to go to Netflix and watch a movie, because much of that is acting.
Yeah.
Because most of the time in the marriage, like we've been married 25 years, it's like two ships passing in the night. For us both to be in the mood at the same time, it has to be like an anniversary. It has to be something. Typically, it's one of us instigating and the other one saying, okay, if that's what you want, but I'm going to get in the mood as well. But I never deny you. If you want some, here I am. And you always treat me that way. If I want some, there's no denying. Now, I'm not a fool. I know that if you're coughing and don't feel good, if you had a long day, I might say it, and I can tell by the way, okay, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, here's the principle. Only one person needs to be in the mood for sex to happen in a marriage.
Ladies, please do not listen to women like this. Please, this is toxic, and this is what we as women have been taught. We've been taught that our bodies are not our bodies. This is dangerous for a lot of women and girls, because a lot of men already feel like that your body is theirs and they have the right to just take your body as they please. We have just seen the 70,000 men getting caught in the chat room talking about the things that they have done sexually to the women and girls in their families, talking about the things that they want to do. And there have been so many more chat rooms and discussions. Tim Tebow, he read some disgusting things from men and what they have been doing to children, little girls and little boys. This is not the message that we want to go into 2025 with, telling women to just do it anyway, do stuff you don't want to do anyway. We're going to break this cycle, and this is just part of the toxic patriarchy and what all women and men have been taught, to just disregard how women feel. Just disregard that they are their own person. Take away their rights to their bodies. Take away their rights to say and wear what they want to wear. And we as women have to be accountable for saying stuff like this. We have to hold women accountable for saying stuff like this. If I was her friend, I would say something to her. And if she insisted on saying stuff like this, I would cut her off. Even if I was related to this woman, you have to cut off women who are not for the rights and the protections of women and girls, who are actually putting women and girls in dangerous situations because they're not teaching women and girls responsibly. You have to cut them off.
Men, can we talk about consent for a minute? Because I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. I'm wearing my angry turkey shirt today because I'm a little angry. Let's all remember, you never have the right to touch her in a sexual way that she's not comfortable with. Never. Ever, 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 ever. And frankly, I'm embarrassed and ashamed at the amount of people who say their boyfriend or husband still doesn't understand this. Consent doesn't stop once you guys become official, and it certainly doesn't stop when you get married either. Being married absolutely does not mean that her body is yours to touch however you want. And it especially doesn't mean that she has to have sex with you whenever you want. Consent never stops. Even if you're married, if you're pressuring her to have sex with you and she doesn't want to, but she eventually feels guilty enough and just does it anyways, that's sexual abuse. We should never ever want the most important woman in our life to do something, especially sexually, that she doesn't actually want to do. She's not your servant. She's not there for you to get off whenever you want. Her body isn't to be used for your pleasure just because you said so. You should be ashamed of yourself if you have such a small view of her, because she's valuable, as in equally valuable as you are. You wouldn't like someone to do something sexually to you that you weren't comfortable with. You always need her permission to touch her. That's what respect and love look like. Now, am I saying you always have to ask your partner every time you touch them? No, of course not. Emily is fine with me touching her and even kissing her and even trying to get some, because she trusts me. She knows I respect the no. Respecting the no means that if she's not in the mood, she doesn't even have to say anything. She doesn't have to slap my hand away or tell me to stop. She can just give me subtle body cues that she's not in the mood for this going any further. And then what do? That's right, I pout. I make her feel guilty because, well, I have sexual needs. So I make it a bigger deal than what it needs to be. I sulk. I give her the silent treatment. I make her life harder until she finally gives in and has sex with me. No, that's not respecting the no. I mean, you can practice that strategy. I'm sure a lot of guys do. Let me tell you where that leads. Less sex, not more. But respecting her body and loving her enough to be okay with her saying, no thank you, I don't want to have sex with you right now. 1, that's bare minimum of what common decency and consideration and respect look like. 2, that reinforces an environment where she feels valued and safe and emotionally prioritized. And that, my friends, drastically increases your odds that she will take this bid for sexual intimacy and remember that later or tomorrow when she feels more open for that. Remember, at the end of the day, she needs to know that you value her far more than you value sex. Does your partner know that? Do you have the balls to ask?
Hey, babe, how about we have some fun tonight? I'm not really in the mood right now. Oh, come on. We only have sex when you want to. You know that. What? What do you mean? It's true. We only do it when you want to. But if I don't want to, why would you even want to do it? Well, maybe you'd change your mind if we just start. Plus, it's been a while and I have needs. I feel like sex should only happen if we both want it. You're overthinking it. It's not a big deal. Plus, we're in a relationship. It's expected. Expectations are not sexy, and it's not expected. That's coercive. You've said no like 3 times now. I'm going to start looking elsewhere. How do you think threatening to cheat puts me in the mood? You're being ridiculous. This is about consent and respect, and if you can't understand that, honestly, I don't know why we're in a relationship. If she only says yes because you're pressuring her, it's non-consensual sex. And there's a 4-letter word for that.
Yes, it's much more effective, so let's shift. Instead of thinking about no means no, and we think about consent, yes means yes.
Before we get too excited about yes means yes, a couple of things. Number 1, we need to be teaching these young boys that this also applies to marriage and long-term relationships as well. Consent doesn't change with a committed relationship. And number 2, and very important, is fawning. A lot of women will say yes when they don't mean yes because they feel like they can't say no. Men complain all the time, well, how am I supposed to know? You're supposed to know this woman well enough to know if she wants to do it. And you need to treat her in a way that there's no confusion about her safety. She always understands that it's okay to say no. It is always safe to say no. Because if it's not safe to say no, she will probably say yes.
Hey everyone. Okay, so I work with people who are married and who are in intimate partner violent relationships while they're married. And what ends up coming up often is the topic of sexual abuse while you're married. Is it real? Does it happen? And people are very surprised when we talk about sexual contact when you have not consented, even when you're married, is sexual abuse. So what does that look like? So I'll give you a few examples of what I have seen. So one example, if you are in the shower and someone comes in and assumes, since you are undressed, that you are consenting to sexual contact, that is sexual abuse. Just simply because you are undressing to get in the shower or are in the shower does not mean that you have consented to sexual contact. You have to still consent to this, okay? And just simply because you are married does not mean that you are consenting to a sexual act because you are undressing in the bathroom. All right, number 2, if someone has the expectation of sex and you just don't feel like doing that, it is sexual abuse for them to react in any way that lets you know that they are angry with you. For example, if they had the expectation, you did not consent or you were not interested, and then for the next 3 days, they ignore you, they don't talk to you, will not respond to you, you know why they're angry, right? And you know that, oh, I had better not do that again. So the next time you give in, you have the sex, that you know that if you don't, you're going to pay. You're going to pay with mistreatment, with stonewalling, with foul language, with just being treated unkind. That is coercion, and that is manipulation, and that is not sexual consent. You are not consenting. The only thing you're doing is you are giving in, so that way you are not enduring further abuse. That is not consent. All right, here's something else that I see. So say that your partner has offended you in some way, verbally, financially, they've been abusive in some other form. And how they want to remedy this is they want to have sex. But what they haven't done is come to you, apologized, and made the first offense right. They just want to make sure that they still have access to you, access to your body. They don't want to reconcile with you and make you feel better emotionally, so that way you can feel comfortable with being intimate. They want to skip all of those steps of bringing you back into relaxing and feeling like being intimate. That's work, right? They want to skip all of that. They don't want to work on this relationship piece before being intimate. So they will come to you and again, coerce into being intimate because you're not feeling like being intimate. You were hurt. Your feelings are hurt. Your emotions are hurt. And if you are needing someone to apologize, to be gentle with you, to be kind to you, and they're not doing that, but you know you'd better give in because unfortunately you're going to have to endure that person being nasty to you if you don't give in, you're being coerced. You're being manipulated. You are consenting to sexual contact when you aren't wanting it at that point in time. Again, that is not consent. You're giving in so that way somebody doesn't further abuse you in another way. All right, everyone, we'll talk again.
This is why I want to point out, y'all, that marriage benefits men more. They get into these marriages fully expecting to have their own personal sex slave. They fully expect for you to be a sex robot and to be ready and willing anytime that they are. This is not a life that most women want, and this is not a life that most women can deal with physically, mentally, emotionally. Women cannot. That is why I say that men and women are like oil and water, and men don't care that women are divorcing because of this and many other reasons. They are only taught to care about their concerns. They are selfish and they don't care why you're not wanting to have sex with them. They just want to have sex. It's just the way that they are socialized, and women have been socialized to just give it to them. We have pretty much been socialized to be their robots for all of this time. But the robots now are malfunctioning to men and are waking up, and they don't like it. So they're trying to change laws, and they are becoming incels, and they are malfunctioning, and they are starting to take women out medically by not helping women when they have miscarriages. They're starting to set women on fire. It was a woman in Africa who had a little community of children that she was feeding, clothing, sending to school. Girls, I think it was mostly girls or all girls. She was taking care of these girls. They had to protect themselves from the men in the villages because the men would try to come in and rape them. This woman ended up dead. She was feeding 500 girls, helping them, trying to keep them safe from the men. And I feel like it was one of the men in the village that took her out. I really do feel that way. So 2025, today is January 1st, 2025. We are going to change this. Women are going to change this. And if it's any women in your vicinity that don't understand, that don't want to listen to these messages, let them go. Stop trying to tell them, stop talking to them just like you don't talk to the men. We're not saying we hate men. We're saying we love women and girls, and we want them to be safe. We want them to kick on their self-preservation mechanism that has been turned off. This is survival. This is not about hate. This is about survival.
The reason why I talk about mine and my husband's sex schedule lately, and one thing that I've always been clear about in every video, is that you can really only do a sex schedule if you have a partner who is safe, who is attentive, who is able to hear no, and who is not sexually coercive. And the reason why I always say that is because my marriage used to be sexually coercive, and I know that the idea of a sex schedule would have absolutely triggered me. In fact, we tried a sex schedule back when sex was really an issue in our marriage, and it failed spectacularly and also triggered me a lot. My husband and I ended up separating because we had lots of other reasons. And while we were separated, he went to therapy. And one of the things that he worked on was what was enabling his dependence on sex. What he learned was that it wasn't about the sex. It was about the feelings of rejection when I said no. It was about his insecurities in our relationship and in himself. And by the way, I'm not saying anything that he's not comfortable with me sharing. In fact, this weekend we're posting an hour-long podcast where he and I talk about this exact subject. So anyway, after he did all of that work on himself, we ended up reconciling our marriage. I had done a lot of work on myself, and we came back together as a couple who could communicate and who could get on the same page about these things. And now that my husband has done that work to heal himself, we can be in a place where we can set intention for days to have sex. That's all a schedule is I intend on having sex on these days. And we both understand that either one of us can withdraw that intention or that consent at any time. But that absolutely would not have been something that would have been possible before he did all this work on himself. And frankly, before I did work on myself too. So I think it's absolutely valid for some women to hear about a sex schedule and say, absolutely not. I would never agree to that because my husband would abuse it. Because if that's what you think, then you are probably right. And no one should ever be being forced to have sex that they don't want to have. But in my case, my husband and I did the work. We changed, we grew, and now we're able to have sex that we both look forward to, that we don't mind scheduling because we look forward to it.
Here's your monthly reminder that marriage is in fact not a contract for sex. There is not a single existing current law in the United States that says that when you marry someone, you owe them any sort of sexual obligation. In fact, contracts for sex are illegal in the United States, and any contract would be null and void. And I'm willing to bet that if the people saying this put a little more effort into talking with their partner and understanding their partner's wants and needs and having constructive conversation about what they each desire in a relationship and how to get there, they wouldn't have to be demanding sex from their partners and coercing them into believing that it's an obligation that they have because of their marriage. And what a great world it would be to live in, where my job didn't exist.
Can a marriage recover from marital coercion? If you don't know me, hi, I'm Angela, the Christian Sexpert. I talk all about sex and intimacy in Christian marriage. And if you don't know what marital coercion is, it is when one spouse uses emotional manipulation or threats to obtain sex from their spouse. So things like the Bible says you can't deny me, or if you don't have sex with me, I'll just go get it elsewhere. You always have a headache, things like that. And as a side note, if you think that you might be experiencing marital coercion in your marriage, please go check out Nat's marital coercion playbook. It's available on her website. I am going to tag her in this video. I received this anonymous inquiry, and the first thing that I want to say is, friend, yes, a marriage can recover from marital coercion, but it's a very long and very hard road, and there's some things I want to address in your message. The first thing is marital coercion is sexual abuse. You have been abused for, it sounds like, the entirety of your marriage, and you need to be safe above all else. I understand that he has a disability or chronic illness, but that does not excuse his behavior or abusing an image bearer of God. The second thing is you will need to get into therapy. If you want to save this marriage, you need to get into therapy for yourself. He needs to get into therapy for him. And marriage counseling is not recommended in instances of abuse until healing has happened on both sides. And the other thing is you're going to want to take sex off the table until evidence of healing is evident.
Yeah.
You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. So you cannot continue to have sex and he cannot continue to demand sex from you and either one of you expect to heal. He needs to address the reasons why he thinks that this behavior is acceptable, and you need to shore up your boundaries and really come to a place of understanding of what is and is not healthy in a marriage relationship.
Okay, so before I play this next video, I want y'all to listen to her really carefully. And I want all of y'all who are listening to get in the comments and point out everything that she is saying that is a red flag, and also point out everything that he is saying that is a red flag. I want us to be more interactive in the comments this year. Because I want to see if we're learning. I'm not going to point it out. I want to see if y'all could point out everything that both of them are saying that is a red flag. And I want us to just get down in the comments this year and really get to know each other and chop it up, because I do plan on meeting some of y'all in the future. So let's play this video.
And some women withhold sex from their husbands in marriage.
That is such a big, loaded question.
It is.
Because I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. I'll start with one of the ones that we hear a lot is, I'm not getting my needs met, so I'm going to withhold from my spouse. I'm not going to give him what he needs if I'm not getting what I need. And I think that is a recipe for disaster. Not meeting your spouse's needs cannot be an option. All right, hear me out. When we enter into marriage, we have to think about it like this. My spouse's needs, whatever they may be. For some spouses, it's that it may be different. You have to have, for one, let's have a conversation about what our needs are. And if sex is in that top spot, that top 1-2 spot, then meeting that need is now a priority to you. When you are meeting the needs of somebody else, your needs no longer matter. You have now placed what is important to them above what is important to you. Why? Because that person is important to you. So that's one. Let me just clear that. So that's one. Meeting my spouse's needs has to become a priority. Now, the reason why that may not be done is because if I feel like my spouse is not meeting my needs, my initial and knee-jerk reaction is to not meet his. You hit me, I'm gonna hit you. You don't give to me, I'm not gonna give to you. It's this warped sense of thinking that we have, not just in our marital relationships, but just in human relationships, period. And so it's wrong. It's flat out wrong. It is, when we say I do, we are committing to meeting the needs of the person we're saying I do to. And it's just that simple. Sometimes we overcomplicate it by making it more complex than it is. If I am putting you first, I am intentionally putting forth the effort to meet your needs. I am intentionally putting forth the effort to meet your needs. Now, if sex is your number one need, and it may be number 7 on my list, where does it then fall? It now becomes number 1 to me.
You can't say no to your husband because it will end up in a fight. That's a problem. I think we forget how normalized forcing women to have non-consensual sex is, even in a marriage. How normalized it is that women are being coerced by their partners, that they're being guilted, that they're being shamed, that they're being told or reminded that it's their wifely duties, that they have roles that they need to fulfill, that they have needs that have to be met. And it's been so normalized. I thought this post was a great representation of that. I can't ask a client of her husband because she'll say no. So instead I have to ask her, has he ever forced her to do it?
Or does she ever feel like she can't say no? And she'll say, well, sometimes that's how normalized this is in our culture. So many women will say, I'll just do the quick work and save myself an hour or days of fighting, because I would rather just get this over with than deal with my husband for the next X amount of hours or days and his mood and his attitude because I tried to say no. It's not normal for your partner to make you feel unsafe when you say no to their sexual advances. It's not normal for them to try to coerce you, to try to change your mind, to try to guilt you and shame you. None of that is normal. Being sexually intimate with your partner should not feel like a chore. It should not feel like something that you can't safely say no to, that you can't safely turn down, because you'll either be berated or you'll be reminded of how long it's been since the last time you did it, or literally insert XYZ here to try to coerce you into changing your mind. So this is just your friendly reminder that none of that is normal, and that if you can't feel safe in saying no, it's time to start reconsidering who you're with.
What do you do when your husband is pressuring you to have sex?
Right. A lot of moving parts. Number one thing is ask yourself this: do I feel safe? If you feel safe, you need to speak to him and tell him that you are actually getting to that place where you are really, really uncomfortable. You see, coercive sex isn't consent. Consent only can come from you, and consent can only be given when it is given without coercion. In other words, you have to enthusiastically want it. Anything else other than that is actually sexual assault. Recognize it for what it is. Now, your husband may have an appetite for sex that is greater than yours. That needs to be talked about, but you cannot be coerced, manipulated, or abused, or made feel guilty into having sex. Know your worth. Reach out to me. Book a discovery session where we can dig into this into detail. It's a 30-minute one-on-one with me, and we'll uncover all the moving parts, and then I'll give you some specific advice. You're awesome. Stay strong.
What's up, y'all? Listen, real quick, I just want to be very clear. And I know that cognitively, you all know this, right? But I just want to reiterate it. Sex and intimacy are not the same thing. And this is for my men. Fellas, it is not the same thing. Women, we get it. We understand. We absolutely know what intimacy is because we crave it, right? Intimacy starts way before you get into the bedroom. Way before. You can be intimate in the bedroom, but it starts before, right? Intimacy is into me you see, right? Do you see me? Do you see your wife? Do you hear me? The things that I desire, the things that are important to me, is it important to you? Intimacy is vulnerability. Intimacy is opening yourself up and having the tough emotional conversations. That's intimacy. It's connecting on a level that sex can't even take you there. And you may not think that, but that's because you've not really been intimate with your wife. Intimacy is when you wake up in the morning and then she loves coffee or tea or whatever her favorite beverage is. When she's in the bathroom doing her makeup and getting ready, you just go and you just sit the coffee there. Just have it for her. Intimacy is her coming out of the bathroom and seeing her clothes laid out on the bed because you ironed them already for her. Intimacy is, instead of you waiting for her to jump up and go get the baby, you jump up and get the baby and you're like, baby, I got it. You get you a little more sleep. That's intimacy. That's, I see you, baby. I am into you. Into me, you see. You want to get the best from your wife? Be intimate with her. That is what women crave. Women crave intimacy. And let me just say this. Listen, why get married? And for any of you who out here single, listen to this. I need you to really think and do some self-introspection, reflection, and be honest about yourself. Be accountable to yourself. Why are you going to get married if you're going to hem and haw and fight and buck against what it is your spouse is clearly saying that they need and that they want? What's the purpose?
Men get married most of the time because women beg them to, because women want to get married. So most of them give in and marry you. That's the main reason. And then when they do get married, since you beg them to marry you, they feel like you need to do whatever they want you to do in this marriage because you begged. Beggars can't be choosers. So now you need to be a sex robot and a slave and a maid and a cook and a chef and do what they want since you want marriage so bad. They don't get married for the same reasons we get married for. They get married when they're tired of messing with a lot of different women. They're older. They usually want to get settled down and get married when they're older, unless a woman forces them to, or unless a woman says, I'm going to walk away, and they don't want that woman to walk away. They may marry you then if you threaten them to walk away, but they weren't ready to get married. We forced them, so stop. And then y'all complain when we get in these marriages that I don't want to have sex because y'all don't know what's coming. That's why we have these channels. When you have kids by this man, everything is going to change. He's still going to want the same amount of sex. And he's still going to be doing the same exact things that he did before y'all had kids. You are not. You're going to be the one that gets stuff loaded onto you. So I hate when women like this try to give women advice and don't see the differences between men and women. The difference is men don't want to get married until they're about to die and they need you to take care of them. And the ones that do want to get married young is just because they know nobody else is going to want them. They know that not too many women are going to want them. They can't play the field like a whole bunch of different men. So they just settle down young, but they still see you as their own personal property.
Purpose of getting married is so that we can become one, so that we can experience joy together. Well, the only way we experience joy together is if we are intimate with one another. Men, I encourage you, if you have a challenge being intimate, go to your wife and tell her. Be honest.
A woman needs emotional intimacy. A man needs physical intimacy. To have a vibrant relationship, you have to be willing to give that to your partner without them asking. Imagine if you're a woman and you need emotional intimacy, but every time you need emotional intimacy, you have to ask your man for it. Does it feel like you're getting emotional intimacy? Does it feel like he cares about you? Does it feel like he's doing it willingly? It's going to feel contrived, and you're going to get tired of asking him to do it, and you're going to get to the point where you stop asking him, and you're going to see a lot of things start to shift for the bad. Same thing is true on the opposite side for men on the physical intimacy. For me as a man, the only way that I can open up and connect with my wife on an emotional level is through physical intimacy. It brings out the emotions there. It opens up this doorway for me that I can show and express emotional intimacy for her. And if that's cut off, I'm just kind of faking it, going through the motions. I love my wife. I'm going to take care of her and I'm responsible to her, but the emotional connection goes away. And if I'm always having to hit my wife up for sex, for intimacy, to get that part of me opened up, because it's really not about the sex for me. It's about the connection with the person that's most important to you. That's what sex is for a man, and because it opens us up in a way that we can connect with her emotionally. If I have to hit my wife up and ask her for physical intimacy, it destroys that. Now, until you can get out of the game of keeping score about who's done what for who, you're never going to be able to launch a relationship into anything that's going to look like a really happy, successful marriage. The only way to do that is for both people to be selfless and both people willing to give to the other person what they want, without having to be asked for it.
For many women, emotional closeness is essential for sexual intimacy. So problems in your relationship can be a major factor for a low sex drive in a woman. A decreased interest in sex is often the result of other ongoing issues such as lack of connection with your partner, unresolved conflict or fights, poor communication of sexual needs and preferences, and or trust issues.
So ladies, I truly believe that women are filing for divorce more and more because they are realizing that they just are not compatible with their husbands. And women, even women who are dating, are realizing that they are not compatible with most men because the things that we desire in a relationship and the things that they desire in relationship are totally at different ends of the spectrum. We want intimacy. We want them to listen to us. We want them to plan our futures out with us. We want a partnership. We want them to help us clean, cook, take care of the kids. We want so many things that will make us feel loved and that will literally make us want to be with them sexually. But on the opposite end of that, it's like they're the oil and it's just not going to come together. A lot of women are sick of asking. A lot of women are just tired because they know what they need and what they want from their husbands and they never get it. But on the other end, they know what their husbands needed and wanted from them, and they tried for years and years and years to give it to him, and it just wasn't enough. It still didn't trigger in his mind, she's trying to give me everything I want, and so I should probably try to give her some of the things that she wants. The mass majority of men don't think like that. And that is why we see this huge uptick of women divorcing. Over 70% of women are filing for divorce, and even gray divorces where women in their 40s and 50s are filing for divorce. And I feel like this is a huge reason that they're trying to buy TikTok or either ban it, because they want to be able to control these types of videos and talk about women getting divorced. Women finally realizing that no matter what we do or say, men are just not going to listen to us and not try to, do what we ask of them, because they just are selfish. They really are going to do what makes them happy, and then they also want you to do what makes them happy. They'll try little things here and there to please you, just to shut you up, but overall it's going to be them going to play basketball, going to work out, going to play golf, going to do the things they love, going to go drink with the boys. They're going to do the things that they enjoy. But women, on the other hand, we are taught to give all of that up for men, like we just saw some of these women saying in this video, particularly Black women. We are the most God-fearing, church-going women, and everybody knows that religion was created for women to be submissive and to be under men. So Black women really follow that like more than any other race on this planet. But yeah, ladies, that's all I have. I want us to start off 2025 with a bang. If you're married, your body does not belong to your husband. It does not. Your body is your body. His body is his body. If he wants to go out and cheat, he's going to go out and cheat on you, no matter how much sex you give him, no matter how much you cook and clean. We need to realize that as women in 2025. And then when that comes, or if that happens, you're just going to have to do what you have to do. And that's why all last year, it was women like me on YouTube trying to get y'all to realize that you do need to build community with women. You do need to have women around you to support you. That's where your emotional support comes in. That's where you really get the intimacy that you desire from your spouse. Normally women get that from other women. Women know how to comfort women when they're going through things in every other way besides sexually. Well, some of them do that too, but I'm just saying, everything that we're desiring out of our husbands and boyfriends, women just don't even realize that if you have a good group of friends, that's usually who you get it from. They are pretty much your backbone. And although I don't have that because I'm not around like-minded women, I thank God that y'all are here in 2025, and I'm just hoping that we can grow this community. So share, ladies, please share. And I can't wait to see how this year is going to turn out. It's going to be some good times, but for the most part, y'all, I think it's going to be a pretty rocky year in 2025. So ladies, please arm yourselves. If you've been thinking about doing it, don't be scared. Just go to your local gun ranges and get familiar with your guns. That's something that I also need to do. I haven't been able to go because I have been working and just life has been lifing, but hopefully in 2025, I'll get a chance to go more. And yeah, and if y'all have been thinking about starting your own channels, this is the year to do it. It is not hard. It is free. just get on here and just get started, y'all. That's all I have to say. So thank you if you stayed this long. Get down in the comments and I will talk to you ladies later. Bye.